HOA tried arresting my wife on our land. Too bad, I'm not even a member and I filmed it all. Have you ever had someone try to control you on your own property, acting like they own the place? That's exactly what happened to me and my wife, Sarah, when our neighborhood's HOA crossed a line they'd come to regret. It all started on a quiet Saturday morning, the kind where the sun's just warm enough to make you want to sip coffee on your porch. But instead of peace, we got a power-hungry HOA board member named Karen, a woman who seemed to live for rules and fines, trying to have Sarah arrested on our own land that wasn't even under their jurisdiction. What Karen didn't know was that I had cameras rolling the whole time, and her reign of petty terror was about to crash and burn. We'd bought our little slice of heaven, a cozy house on 2 acres 5 years ago, deliberately choosing a property just outside the HOA's boundaries. The neighborhood was split. Half the houses were under the HOA's iron grip, the other half, like ours, were free from their covenants. Sarah and I valued our freedom. We didn't want anyone telling us how tall our grass could be or what color our mailbox should be. But Karen, the HOA's self-appointed enforcer, had other ideas. She'd been eyeing our property like a hawk since we moved in, her golf cart zipping by daily, her notepad always ready to jot down violations she had no right to enforce. Our crimes? A wildflower garden Sarah planted that Karen deemed unkempt, and a small shed we built for our gardening tools, which she claimed was an eyesore. Never mind that our land wasn't hers to police. That Saturday, Sarah was tending her wildflowers, humming to herself, when Karen's golf cart screeched to a stop at the edge of our property. I was inside, but my phone pinged with a motion alert from our security cameras, 4 of them, strategically placed around our land after Karen's earlier complaints started escalating. I pulled up the live feed just in time to see Karen, clipboard in hand, barking at Sarah. "This is your final warning," she shouted, her voice dripping with authority she didn't have. "Your property is a disgrace to the community, and I'm calling the sheriff to have you cited for trespassing and vandalism." Sarah, bless her, just laughed. "Trespassing? On my own land? Karen, you're out of your mind." That's when I started recording the feed, sensing this was about to get ugly. Karen's face turned beet red. She wasn't used to being challenged. She whipped out her phone and dialed, claiming she was reporting Sarah for illegal activity on HOA property. The audacity was staggering. Our land wasn't part of their domain, and Karen knew it. She'd been sent the property records multiple times after previous complaints. But facts didn't matter to her. Power did. As Sarah stood her ground, calmly pulling weeds, Karen escalated her threats. "You'll be in handcuffs by noon," she spat, storming off to her cart. I stepped outside, phone in hand, and called out, "Smile, Karen, you're on camera." Her head snapped toward me, but she didn't respond, just sped away. What Karen didn't expect was the twist that was about to unfold. Unbeknownst to her, our neighbor, Tom, a retired lawyer who'd had his own run-ins with the HOA, had been watching from his porch across the street. Tom wasn't just any neighbor, was a legal pit bull who'd been quietly gathering dirt on the HOA for years. He'd seen Karen's antics before, and he'd warned us she was part of a clique on the board that profited from fines and inflated contracts with preferred vendors. Tom strolled over as Sarah filled me in, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "You got that on video?" he asked. I nodded, showing him the footage. "Good," he said, grinning. "Let's make sure Karen's day gets worse." An hour later, a sheriff's deputy pulled up, looking confused. Karen trailed behind in her golf cart, pointing at Sarah like she'd caught a criminal mastermind. The deputy, a young guy named Officer Daniels, approached us. "Ma'am, I got a call about trespassing and property damage," he said, glancing at Karen. Sarah, still holding her gardening trowel, raised an eyebrow. "On my own land? Officer, we're not part of the HOA. Check the county records." I handed Daniels my phone, already cued to the footage of Karen's tirade. His brow furrowed as he watched, and I could see him piecing it together. Karen, meanwhile, was ranting about community standards and disorderly conduct, but Daniels wasn't buying it. "Ma'am," he interrupted, turning to Karen, "this property isn't under HOA jurisdiction. You can't enforce rules here, and you definitely can't call for an arrest without cause." Karen's jaw dropped, but she doubled down, insisting we were technically part of the HOA because our driveway touched their road. It was a desperate lie, and Daniels wasn't having it. He asked for our deed, which I happily provided, showing our land was independent. Karen's face went from red to ghostly white as Daniels told her to leave us alone or risk a harassment charge. She stammered, tried to argue, but eventually retreated to her cart, muttering about taking this to the board. That's when Tom stepped in, his calm lawyer voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Officer, while you're here, you might want to look into the HOA's practices. I've got evidence of embezzlement and selective enforcement that might interest the county." Karen froze, her eyes wide with panic. Daniels raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued, and took Tom's contact info. As the deputy drove off, Karen sped away, leaving a trail of dust and her dignity in tatters. The fallout was glorious. Tom, Sarah, and I spent the next week compiling evidence. My video footage, Tom's records of HOA financial discrepancies, and statements from other non-HOA neighbors who'd been harassed by Karen's crew. It turned out Karen and her board cronies had been skimming fines to fund personal projects, including a suspiciously lavish community picnic that cost thousands but featured little more than hot dogs and a bounce house. Tom filed a formal complaint with the county, attaching our evidence, and the local news caught wind of it. A week later, a headline screamed, "Local HOA board under fire for fraud and harassment." Karen's name was front and center. The board meeting that followed was chaos. Karen tried to play the victim, claiming we'd entrapped her, but the room wasn't having it. Homeowners, fed up with years of her bullying, demanded her resignation. When she refused, Tom presented our evidence, including my video, which someone had leaked online. It went viral in our small town, with comments calling Karen everything from tyrant of the golf cart to HOA Hitler. Faced with a recall vote and potential criminal charges, Karen and 2 other board members stepped down. The sheriff's department opened an investigation into the HOA's finances, and last I heard, Karen was selling her house to escape the backlash. Sarah and I celebrated with a barbecue on our unkempt lawn, inviting Tom and other neighbors who'd stood by us. Our wildflower garden bloomed brighter than ever, a middle finger to Karen's reign of terror. The new HOA board, led by a no-nonsense retiree who hated Karen's guts, slashed fines and promised transparency. Our little victory didn't just take down a bully, it reminded our community that power only lasts until someone fights back. So, what do you think? Was Karen just a misguided control freak, or did she deserve every bit of the karma that came her way? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear where you stand on this HOA showdown.